Assalamu alaikum, Halimah here, your Quran lifestyle coach and founder of Quran Rehab. Today I wanted to share a very interesting story with you, a personal experience I had a few years back through which I learned a really profound lesson that completely changed my relationship with the Quran. And as strange as it sounds, I want to share with you what Hollywood taught me about our Quran relationship. So do you remember how a few years back there was a new type of emerging trend in the type of Hollywood movies being created? And these were movies that recreated biblical stories of the prophets. So you had movies like The Passion of Christ, Noah, Exodus, for example. Now, although I'm not particularly fond of movies, and especially not these ones, I do recall consciously choosing to watch these particular films for a very specific purpose. And it was actually whilst I was watching one of them that I had a profound personal epiphany. I remember I was watching Exodus of God and Kings, which is supposedly the biblical depiction of the story of Moses. And as most of you know, the story of Musa alayhi salam is amazing. It's filled with a multitude of miracles, right? So you had fire that rained down from the sky, seawater turning into blood, etc. And when you view these cinematically reconstructed events in full HD and in a very incredibly graphic way, it really is a very spectacular sight for the eyes to visually witness. And I remember in one of the particular scenes where the actor playing Moses, he struck the sea with his staff to kind of reenact the miracle of the splitting of the sea in half. I remember sitting there and being in total awe of this spectacle. I mean, the visual effects just made it so extraordinary but tangible at the same time. And I then recall sitting there reflecting on my own reaction. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm so amazed and enthralled looking at something that is merely animated with special effects. So essentially it's fake. How much more amazed would I have actually been if I had been there, stood there in that time, personally witnessing this miracle for myself. These miracles that were sent to, as a sign to move the minds and the hearts and the souls of people towards faith. And as I sat there witnessing this reconstructed miracle on the screen, I began recalling some of the other amazing scenes in other prophetic Hollywood movies, and as well as starting to recall various different verses within the Quran pertaining to miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I was just trying to reconstruct them in my mind and trying to imagine those moments. So I was thinking about Ibrahim alayhi salam being catapulted into huge flames and walking away untouched. I remember trying to imagine, Isa alayhi salam bringing the dead to life, for example. And as I was imagining being there in these historical moments, I mean, my eyes just filled up and, I welled with tears, tears of awe and amazement for the Creator. And I began wondering how it was that some people who had actually, in fact, witnessed these miracles at that time with their own eyes, how it was that they were not wowed and moved by the miracles that they witnessed. How, despite seeing these things, with their own eyes, they turned away in heedlessness and disbelief even, subhanAllah. And it was at that very moment when I asked myself that very specific question that it dawned on me. What if we Muslims of today were perhaps not so different from such individuals we can't really understand, from those individuals that we're in shock of for not being touched by, by the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and turning away neglectfully? Sound outrageous? How, you might be thinking? Well, let me ask you this question. Do you, every time you hear the Quran or read the Quran, for example, feel that very same amazement, feel that sensation of being in total, being totally overwhelmed and, feeling that immense level of awe for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having your very core moved, breaking down in tears for the miracle that you've just been exposed to? If not, why not? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He actually informed us that each prophet He sent to mankind, He sent with a message, and He also sent alongside the message a miracle, miracles as a sign of the divine guidance, and that He would leave the greatest of all miracles for the last messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, a sign, greater than the raising of the dead, greater than parting the sea in half. And that in fact would be combined both message and miracle in one, making it even more special. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that this would be a miracle that would be sufficient to withstand the test of time. That it was a miracle for every member of humanity to witness thereafter until the Day of Judgment. And subhanAllah, that it would be one that He would honor us with witnessing on a daily basis, not just as a one-off. And that is His very own perfect words, the Quran. Now, unfortunately for most of us and for most Muslims generally in this day and age, the answer is no. We don't feel or instinctively react towards the Quran in that way, even though I don't doubt most of us really want to. But the problem is we just don't really know what's wrong with our current approach and the way we're trying to currently build our relationship with the Quran that's preventing us from obtaining those kind of feelings and that reaction towards the Quran. Well, from my studies and my personal experience coaching hundreds of individuals, with their Quran relationships over the last 9 years, I found that the answer to this question simply comes down to the fact that most of us are never truly acquainted with the real nature of the Quran to begin with. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, what do you mean exactly by I don't really know the Quran or haven't been properly acquainted with it? Because a lot of people might argue, how is it possible for me to not even know the Quran when I've been Muslim all my life or for X amount of years? Or, perhaps you read it regularly, you listen to it on your daily commutes, you've even memorized certain parts of it, etc. Well, let me ask you this very basic question regarding the fundamental nature of the Quran itself. Do you even know what makes the Quran so wow to begin with? How exactly is the Quran the ultimate miracle anyway? Sadly, from my experience, most people can't really answer that. And those who do just kind of regurgitate the little information that they've heard commonly shared by others. And that reality is both sad and very detrimental because we've kind of robbed ourselves of experiencing the Quran the way that it was initially introduced and presented to the world upon its revelation, how it shook the world, creating the waves of phenomenal transformation which we still witness to this day, and from the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also intended for us to initially experience it too. So the first step towards building a really meaningful and fulfilling friendship with the Quran relates to our approach, and this is to reacquaint ourselves properly and to get to know the Quran. This is done first and foremost by getting to know the very nature of the Quran, by discovering and witnessing for yourself its miracles. It's for this reason that I've chosen to create a unique 3-part video series where I'm going to be showcasing for you 5 ways you didn't know the Quran was a miracle. So if you would like to be wowed by the gift Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, if you'd like to have your heart, your mind and your iman fed and nurtured in a very fulfilling way, and you'd like to start off your Quran journey on the right foot this Ramadan, then I invite you to join me on this exciting journey to witness some of the amazing miracles of the Quran for yourself. In order to get instant, free, lifelong access to this series, it's as simple as just entering your name and email below. I am so excited and I can't wait to begin, so click below inshallah and let's get started.